What up, LK Mafia? It's your boy Arctic Kicks, and just like that, we back with another one. Alright, so y'all, we about to get into this video, man. This is, what is it called? Top 10 scary last words from prison inmates. Now, I just got finished filming a video. I have to edit and upload. I just got finished filming a video on some of the pros and cons of starting a reaction channel in 2020. Now, I'm not gonna lie, there were far more cons than there was pros. But anyway, I'm about to edit and upload this reaction first, and then I'll post that video a little bit later because it's gonna take me a little while to edit that video because I think I filmed for like 45 minutes talking about stuff and I still didn't get everything out that I needed to say. But nonetheless, I hope it's going to be beneficial to a lot of you guys that are looking to start a channel, reaction channel, YouTube channel of any sort. And hopefully it'll give you enough tips of what to do and what not to do to protect yourself, because they are cracking down. YouTube is cracking down so hard on content creators right now and making it a lot more difficult. So we always have to change and innovate a lot of the things that we're doing in order to stay protected and to continue to do what we do and to grow on this platform. So like I said, that video will be going up a little later today. But yeah, we're about to get into this right now. This is top 10 scary last words from prison inmates. What could they possibly say that's scary? Oh, I can think of a few things, but anyway, we're about to get into this. Y'all boys and girls ready? I'm ready. Let's go.
Before a convicted felon is executed by lethal injection or in the electric chair, it is usually customary for the criminal to have one last opportunity to address the public with their final last word.
Yep.
Sometimes inmates take this opportunity to make peace with their actions, while others say a chilling statement that is aimed to shock or upset people. There have been a ton of chilling last words from inmates right before they take their last breaths. So you know what? Let's take a look at this. This is the top 10 scary last words from prison inmates. Starting things off, number 10, we have Robert Elton Harris. He said, "You can be a king or a street sweeper, but everyone dances with the Grim Reaper." He was arrested.
Whoa, that's dark. You can be a king or a street sweeper, but everybody dances with the Grim Reaper. What? He was waiting for that one. He was in that dang old prison cell like, damn.
It's inevitable. I got the death penalty. There's no way around this. What will my final words be? Something that needs to put fear in everyone's eyes, in their hearts and their soul. I want them to feel what I'm thinking. The Grim Reaper will get us all. I know exactly what I'm gonna say.
Man, this dude is freaking... He was just evil to begin with.
Grim Reaper. He was arrested on July 5th in 1978 when him and his brother hijacked a car with two teenage boys in it. They ordered them to drive to a remote location where the brothers brutally murdered them, and then they used the vehicle as a getaway car when they robbed a San Diego bank. Robert Harris was arrested just 1 hour after the robbery, and he was charged with murder and auto theft, kidnapping, burglary, and bank robbery.
Sick.
One of the arresting officers was the father of one of the murdered boys, but he didn't realize...
What? This is something from a movie, man. Did they make a movie out of this? They need to make a movie out of this.
That the victim was his son until later. He wasn't even able to recognize his son's face. That's how violent the murder was. Robert Harris was sentenced to death in 1979. After many appeals, he was finally executed in San Quentin's gas chamber on April 21st in 1992. Moving up this list.
Wow, that's crazy. So he was arrested in 79, but sentenced to the gas chamber in 92. So he had to spend like 13 or 12 to 13 years in prison before he was sentenced to death. That's crazy.
George Engle in at number 9. He was an anarchist who didn't like to follow any sort of rules or regulations. He was involved with a lot of activism and protests in the Chicago area. A protest bombing took place in Haymarket Square in Chicago that resulted in the death of 7 police officers, 4 civilians, and a lot of other people who were seriously injured. George Engle was actually at home playing cards while this riot broke out, and he was arrested the next day and charged with conspiracy in in the bombings. He was convicted and sentenced to hanging, but before he took his last breath, he said, "Hurrah for anarchy, this is the happiest moment of my life." Roger Keith Cohen makes his last statement in at number 8.
He said this is the happiest moment of his life. You know what? There's something interesting about that, because one thing I always say is to never allow someone to dictate or control your emotion. And in that moment, it sounds like he chose to be happy during a time where anybody else would be miserable. He said this is the happiest moment of his life. See, one thing that I know about the emotion of happiness and sadness is they can't exist in the same space at the same time. You can't be both sad or mad and happy and joyful at the same time. It's not possible. So he chose to be happy. So because he chose to be happy, he died happy. Interesting.
Of my life. Roger Keith Cohen makes his last statement in at number 8. His case gained nationwide attention and major controversy because he maintained his innocence the whole time during his conviction and even right before he was executed. During his final last words, he said, "An innocent man is going to be murdered tonight. When my innocence is proven, I hope Americans will realize the injustice of the death penalty as all other civilized countries have." He was convicted in Virginia for assaulting and murdering his sister-in-law on the day that he has been laid off from work. After his death, the DNA evidence was reanalyzed, and in January 2006, the governor announced that the testing of the DNA evidence has conclusively proven that he was guilty of the crime. Okay, that's great and all, but why don't you think you should have done 1,000 tests on the DNA before you executed him? It makes no sense.
Exactly.
What if the DNA evidence proved that he wasn't guilty?
Right. Exactly. What if it proved that he wasn't guilty? What if, because it's easy, it's possible, and I'm not trying to give none of y'all crazy folks out there any ideas, but what if somebody staged it in such a way that they had his blood sample, skin graft, hair follicles? What if they have planted those at the scene to where they could match that to him, but he was still innocent? I mean, it was his sibling after all, so I don't know.
Would the press conference look like then? Oops, we made a massive mistake and killed an innocent man. My bad. And now at number 7, we have Timothy McVeigh. He infamously said, "I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul." If you guys remember, he was the one behind the Oklahoma City bombing, which killed 168 people and injured over 680 others. This bombing is actually the deadliest act of domestic terrorism in the United States. His execution date was set for June 11, 2001, and he made a request to have it publicly televised, but this motion was denied. He invited a composer to perform classical music on the night of his execution, and he requested to have a Catholic chaplain. He also requested 2 pints of mint chocolate chip ice cream as his last meal. He was executed by lethal injection, and his wait to be executed was way shorter than most inmates waiting on death row. He only spent about 4 years on death row, while most inmates spend an average of 15 years. The infamous Jeffrey Dahmer is next up at number 6. He was sentenced to 15 consecutive life terms for murdering 17 men and boys in the Milwaukee area, and this is between 19...
Wait, was he molesting them men and boys? He killed men and boys. I didn't even know that. I knew the name Jeffrey Dahmer, but I didn't know what he did exactly. I knew he was killing folks, but I didn't know it was only men and boys. Somebody tell me more about this. Was he like into men and boys?
1978 and 1991. He was also heavily into necrophilia, and he kept his victims' body parts in the freezer so that he can just eat them later. The interesting part of this story...
He looked like he'll eat you. You see this man's face? Ugh. I can't.
Story is that Jeffrey Dahmer wasn't given the death penalty. His inmate actually beat him to death because he said that Jeffrey Dahmer was a sick and creepy man. And
yeah, if I was his inmate, I might have done the same, because the dude does look sick and creepy. I'm gonna get you before you get me.
he was. He used to make this person food look like human body parts, and he would cover them in ketchup to resemble blood. So according to Jeffrey Dahmer's murderer, his last words were, "I don't care if I live or die, go ahead and kill me." And now at number 5 we have Tom Blackjack Ketchum.
He said his last words is, "I don't care if I live or die, go ahead and kill me." That's crazy. That's crazy to think like he didn't care one way or another. Either I'm here or I'm not here. I don't care. That's crazy. Tom Blackjack Ketchum
is an outlawed cowboy who murdered someone in 1895. After that, his gang fled to New Mexico, where they committed more robberies before he was captured during an unsuccessful attempt to rob a train. He was quickly arrested, put on trial, found guilty, and sentenced to death by hanging. When his execution date arrived, it was the biggest public display in the area because he was the first person to be hanged for a train robbery in New Mexico. However, things didn't go as smoothly as they hoped. Before he was hanged, he said this, "I'll be in hell before you start breakfast, boys, let her rip." And right after that, he said the rope completely decapitated him, and it is said that his headless body landed on its feet and stayed standing upright for quite some time. John Wayne Gacy.
What? I would have freaked out. Oh my God, that whole thing is like something out of a horror movie. This man sits here and says, "I will be in hell by the time you guys have your breakfast. Go ahead and let it rip, boys." And then his head completely severed from his body, and his body just stands upright. Oh, I would have, nope. I would have been messed up if I saw that. I would have been messed up. I would have went crazy. And yeah, whoo. No way, no how, no way.
On its feet and stayed standing upright for quite some time.
Why did I reverse?
John Wayne Gacy had 3 famous last words, and this comes into number 4. He kept it short and sweet when he said, "Kiss my ass."
Kiss my ass. Yo, he looks familiar.
I don't know about you guys, but I think I would have, a lot more to say for my final words than "kiss my ass."
Definitely.
Then again, he was a textbook serial killer who didn't really have any emotions. He was known...
I knew it. He was the clown. He's the one that freaking they model It after. You know the movie It? He was the inspiration for It.
As the killer clown because he used to dress up as Pogo the Clown and perform at many charitable events and birthday parties. He took the lives of at least 33 young boys in Illinois, and he would bury their bodies underneath his home. So when he was convicted of sexual assault in 1968, the police were able to find all of the dead bodies that he tried to cover up. Despite a bunch of corpses being found underneath his own home, he maintained his innocence. But he was found guilty in 1980 because there was just so much compelling evidence against him. He was given multiple death penalties and life sentences, and finally, after being on death row for 14 years, he was executed by lethal injection. Aileen Wuornos is up next at number 3. Aileen had a terrible childhood that was full of abuse and abandonment, so it's almost no surprise that she went on a killing rampage that would define her as America's most infamous female serial killer. She worked as a prostitute and she killed 7 men that picked her up along the highway. Aileen said that all of her murderers were out of self-defense, but she was also convicted and sentenced to death for 6 of the murders. She was executed by lethal injection on October 9, 2002, but before she died, she said this, "I just like to say, I'm sailing with the Rock, and I'll be back like Independence Day with Jesus, June the 6th. Like the movie, a big mothership of all, I'll be back." I don't even know what this even means, but I am pretty scared. And
for real, for her to say she'll be back, that's scary.
June 6th. What happens on June 6th? Carl Panzram's last words makes it onto this list at number 2. You probably don't recognize his name, but he is actually known as one of the most sadistic American serial killers of all time. He had more than a dozen aliases, and no one knew anything about what he has done for years until he was captured in November 1928. Before his death, he confessed to killing 21 people and sexually harming 1,000 males. Is this real life right?
This is so freaking baffling and confusing. Like, what is it with these dudes wanting dudes and then killing them? Like, why? Why can't you just be homosexual? Why do you have to kill your victims? I don't understand. I don't want to understand. I know I asked the question. Maybe I do want an answer. Can y'all explain that? No, they're dead. They can't.
Now, and right before he was hanged, he said, "In my lifetime, I have murdered 21 human beings. I have committed thousands of burglaries, robberies, larcenies, arsons, and last but not least, I've committed sodomy on more than 1,000 male human beings." That is just sickening, and for all those reasons, I'm not the least bit sorry for this guy. The Vampire of Dusseldorf falls onto our list at number 1. He is known as a vampire because he would occasionally attempt to drink the blood from his victims' wounds while they were still alive. But eventually he was arrested and sentenced to death by beheading because he committed a series of murders and sexual assaults. He even admitted to killing a 9-year-old girl. It is confirmed that he murdered at least 9 people, but the police suspected that he brutally murdered a lot more people. So one evening before his death, he ordered a Wiener Schnitzel, a bottle of white wine, and fried potatoes, and the next morning he was taken to the guillotine to have his head chopped off. But before he left this world, he made one last scary statement that probably haunted the people that were at his execution. He said, "Tell me, after my head has been chopped off, will I still be able to hear, at least for a moment, the sound of my own blood gushing from the stump of my head? That would be a pleasure to end all pleasures." I mean, yeah, after hearing that, I'm definitely gonna have nightmares, and if that wasn't enough, his mummified head is on display right now in a Wisconsin museum after doctors tried to cut it open to find reasons behind his evil. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. Oh, there you guys have it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I'll see you guys.
That is crazy. That is crazy. That makes so much sense. Let's crack his head open to see if we can find out why he's so damn crazy. This man asked the question, will I be able to hear for a few moments so I can hear the gushing of my blood? Because it will be so satisfying. What? What kind of sick, twisted, freaking, oh my God. I'm baffled. During that time, I'm pretty sure they told him no, but recent studies actually proven that there is still activity within the brain and body moments after being decapitated. I couldn't imagine. Will you feel pain? Your body won't feel any pain. And I know this because the pain receptors are in the brain. When you touch anywhere in your body, that signal is so delayed, but it goes to your brain and then it sends that signal back to that area to let it know that it's been touched there or has been pinched. I know you guys, I look dumb, but I'm not that stupid. I know some things. I study a lot of stuff. But anyway, but will the brain feel any pain? Will it feel pain up to where it was severed? I don't know, man. I got so many questions. I got so many questions, but I'm going to go ahead and end this video right here. Y'all know what time it is. If you like this reaction, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Stay tuned for more. As always, the link to the rig is going to be down in the description box below. If you haven't already, make sure you follow your boy right here on the gram, man, Twitter, @AllTheKicks. Till next one.